Another important sociologist, Professor Shiv Viswanathan and Ramchandra Guha. There are a number of scholars who have reflected on the idea of university at the global level and the Indian level, in the Indian context. For the conceptual framework, I am following the ideas of scholars like Ramchandra Guha, who try to understand what are the defining features of a university. Here I am using university from the larger idea of the higher education. The first feature of university is that the diversity. As Professor Bangya, Professor Vivek Kumar, and Professor White, they are also talking about this particular issue from multiple factors. But my idea here is that we need to understand diversity from the perspective of gender, caste, class, race, and ethnicity and language. So now the point I wish to highlight is that when you look at caste as one of the important sociological category, how to understand caste within the higher education. So this is where I wish to continue my argument from Professor Vivek Kumar, where Dr. B.R. Ambedkar has played a very important role in the making of the progressive India in the post-independent era. So thanks to the reservation policies for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, which has enabled the alternative idea of India from the perspective of the inclusion. So what is the meaning of inclusion from the margin? So what kind of inclusivity they are going to bring out is an important, let's say, epistemological question. So my basic argument primarily comes from two important sources. The first source comes from one of the projects I have conducted on higher education, social justice and nation building, sponsored by University of Eminence of University of Hyderabad. As a part of this, we have conducted survey in 4 universities all over the country, including our own university. And the second source of inspiration for me comes from my teaching of sociology of education course for the last 15 years. So now let me start with the basic idea. We are talking about the higher education. Higher education, especially through the route of social justice, has successfully included the one section of the margin, that is the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, followed by the backward sections of the society. In addition to the women, almost all the state governments are known for implementing 33% of reservations for women over the last 50 years. So in presents, the first time in the context of post-independent India, there is a systematic attempt to include the historical margins of the society. So what kind of, let's say, alternative visions the historical margins have brought in to the universities as well as to the society. So this is where I wish to quote the Ramchandra Guha's idea of the idea that these margins have successfully cultivated the alternative visions within the academia or for that matter within the society. What kind of visions these margins have brought in, especially from the perspective of the Dalit pedagogy and epistemology. So here we have seen that over the last 50 years, there is a systematic attempt to include or institutionalize the subaltern perspective as a part of the Indian sociological tradition. I think that's where the Indian sociologists are, at least are almost most of the universities as a part of UGC, they have incorporated the subaltern studies as an important body of knowledge. So what is the outcome of including the subaltern studies? I think this is where one need to understand the two important outcomes of the subaltern studies. One important point is that the subaltern studies have successfully cultivated the universality of epistemology as well as the particularities of epistemology. So here I wish to quote that when you are talking about these subaltern communities, these subaltern communities within the universities, they have always responded to the multiple demands of the society. What are the demands of the society? So let us take the example of 1990s, where it is the historical margins who are known for showing the solidarity with reference to the reservations for OBCs in the 1990s, in the context of reservations for OBC in employment, and in the context of 1996, especially with reference to Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, when there was a demand for categorization of scheduled castes, there were once again the university students have played very important role in responding to the question of the categorization issue with reference to the Dalits. So similarly, in the post 2000, at the time of demand for the Telangana movement in the context of undivided Andhra Pradesh, it is the university students who have also responded to the question of the Telangana movement in a very systematic manner. So the point I am trying to highlight here is that when we are talking about universities, universities are vehicles of social mobility. Universities are known for responding. Universities are living institutions. They were known for responding to the larger conditions of the society. I think this is where, once again, I wish to quote scholars like Shiv Vishwanathan, who argues that the universities works on the principles of